I'll make it pretty quick. I know a lot of this, it's already come out. Walker will be our starting quarterback. Look, at the end of the day, I think he embodies the best physical attributes of both Lunch and Daniel. He's a very gifted passer. He's a really talented runner. And you couple that with his competitive spirit. I thought in the scrimmages this spring when they were live, I thought that goes a long way. I'm really proud of the way all three of those guys have performed. For me personally, coaching the quarterbacks, that's the second worst day of the year, other than the portal window opening in December. That's when you're breaking two guys' hearts that compete really well and put it on the line. And we're so fortunate and so blessed to have a problem where we've got three really good quarterbacks that I believe we could win with. And I get the luxury of picking the one that I think is best for our team. And that's certainly what we've done. And I'm really excited for Walker. The guy has been through hell and back to get an opportunity to be a starter, and he won it. He earned it. Nothing was promised to him, and he came in and competed really well. And for him, I'm really excited. For the other two guys, with Lunch and Daniel, that they're going to bust their tails and they're going to be ready to go if and when they ever get called upon, because they're those kind of guys, and they'll do it really well. At kicker, Tony Sterner is going to be our starting kicker. That's a little bit easier in terms of it comes down to percentage, right? You make more, you're more consistent, and he was certainly that throughout all of camp. The other two guys in Klotz and in Breck, they've both shown up, and they've made some big kicks at moments. Tony's just been more consistent. I don't want to say indifferent. Obviously, I'm not indifferent about the competition, but really didn't have kind of any type of lean on any of it until we had a 2-minute drill, I guess probably the end of the first week of camp, maybe beginning the second week of camp. And there's a big 53-yard field goal, and Sterner comes in there, drills it right through the upright. So he jumps out at you a little bit right there. And I think he's just competed consistently at a high level. The plan right now is still for Klotz to handle kickoff duties. He's more than capable of that. He's done a good job handling it. And I expect him to do that role and do it really well for us. So, those are the two ones I think that always garner an announcement. If you're the starting linebacker or the backup linebacker, well, you're going to get a chance to go play, and you're going to get a chance to go out there and go prove, hey, maybe I'm just going to start playing better and get to do it. The nature of these positions, there's one. So, that's why we kind of basically confirm or have an announcement, however you want to handle it. But it's good when you've got a bunch of options. That's the best thing for your football team, and we've been fortunate to have that.
So you're confident he has 50-yard range like you would use him in those scenarios?
I've seen it. So, yeah, feel good about it. Seriously, yeah. I didn't know that, truthfully, going into probably last spring. I thought he was very consistent. I didn't think he maybe quite had the juice to get it out there around 50. But in the spring, he was really hitting some big kicks. And then, like I said, in fall camp, it was 53 or 54 yards, something like that, and he hit it. So, so I've seen him do it. Is that where you feel great about kicking from? Absolutely not. It's like any kicker. I think you've got a line that it's like, okay, hey, we feel pretty automatic here. This is within range, but slightly outside of maybe what you expect them to make. And we'll narrow that down too, as we get there. Probably won't share that with anybody. But we have that every week, and kind of where we feel really good about it and where we feel like maybe it's a little more fringy. I think that's a smart way to do it with kickers.
You mentioned about some of the things that Walker did to obviously win the job. Was it also a combination of those things and then kind of the chemistry that he had along with the receivers that ultimately pushed him to the front?
I don't know that I would say the chemistry. All those guys get plenty of reps, the way that we spread it out. And, it doesn't matter if you're rotating with the first or second group. It's kind of the same group going through. I know everybody wants to kind of lean into that a little bit. And, I think they've all created pretty good chemistry with those guys. They've worked really hard to do that. There's a lot of extra throwing sessions in the summer. There's we practice the entire summer, so that there's plenty of reps from the duration of January to almost September for those guys to get in sync. And, I think he has good chemistry with them. I don't know that it's so much better than anyone else just because I think they all get a bunch of time together.
From a leadership standpoint, what have you seen from Walker that kind of stuck out and let him land this QB1 role?
I think, he has an infectious personality. He's always a smile on his face. He's kind of a little bit of a bouncing ball. He's always in a really good mood. I think he brings out the best in other people, which is something you want in leadership. No one wants to play for, work for, whatever, someone that every other day you don't know what their mood's going to be. You want someone that's steady and you know what to expect from him every day. And his steady is really high because he's high energy. He's excited about it every day. And I think that has been infectious towards the team. Everyone's got to do it in their own way. And that was the thing that I told him when he got here was, you don't need to lead like anybody else. You just go to work, shut your mouth, work really hard, and you'll earn respect that way. And then all that stuff starts to fall in place. And that's what he did. From the time he got here in January, he got in the weight room, he started working really hard. That's just the expectation here though. So if you don't do those things, regardless of what position you play here, if you don't lift hard and you don't run hard and you don't train hard, you're not going to have respect in this building. This is not a building of, entitlement or anything like that. Everyone's expected to do that. And, I told you guys this going in the spring, that entire transfer class that we had did an elite job of jumping in, hitting the ground running, and just grinding. And he was one of them. So I think it starts there. And then once you get to know him, it's hard not to like him. It's hard not to want to play well for him and around him. And, and I think that's something that all three of those guys have unique leadership traits, which is really fun. And I think the team takes to all of them. The hard part when you make a decision like that is it's easy if you can eliminate somebody and say, well, okay, he doesn't have these leadership traits, or he doesn't throw it good enough, or he doesn't have the mental capacity to be able to do it. That's an easy decision. The decisions whenever they become difficult is whenever all those guys bring that at a high level. It's a challenging decision, but it's a great decision to get to make because, you get to pick the best one. It's better to have really good options instead of just having one, and everybody else is just, that's not good for our team.
Who's going to be backing up Howard?
Daniel's going to be the backup. We will have roles for lunch too, and we're going to continue to work to develop those. I think what lunch brings is a little bit unique to all of them. I thought that early on in camp, it was really tit for tat. And I think as they went on a little bit, I don't think he threw it maybe quite as effectively or as consistently as we would have liked, but he elevates in a lot of other ways with his game. So he's going to be a part of the plan too. It's not a multiple quarterback system. It's Walker's the quarterback. Daniel will be preparing to be the backup every week, and we'll be preparing for lunch to have some stuff that he can do every week as well.
When we were in New Orleans at Sunbelt Media Days, we talked a little bit about Cortland and where he might fit. You said he was playing more cornerback. How has that played out through camp, and what is his role going to be for the season opener?
Yeah, well, for the season opener, I'd say right now it's going to be at corner. He's done a good job there. Is he going out there first or not? I don't know. We still got time before we get there. But he's played really well in that role. I think Morian Elam has done a really good job at star. He's taken off and run with it. Trey Tomlinson gives you some flexibility back and forth. And it's kind of evolved where Court's playing a little bit more corner necessarily than he was really anything else. And it's fine. We felt like we had a lot of flexibility. We felt like we had a lot of different guys that could do had a lot of position flexibility. So it's I think our defensive staff did a really good job of cross-training a lot of people throughout the summer, particularly earlier on in camp. And then once you kind of put the pads on and you start letting things play out, then you kind of start settling into where where you're playing the best. And for us right now, I think it's been at corner. But with a veteran like him that's got as much experience as he does, it's really nice to have kind of a jack of all trades that you feel like, okay, this has kind of shown up. Maybe it's an injury, maybe it's whatever. It's a guy that you can slide around. He's sometimes used as a negative term. It's like a putty guy, he can kind of fit whatever mold and he can do some different things for you. I think it's a good thing.
You talked about, from your perspective, like how Walker worked hard and earned this opportunity. Just aside from football, like how does it look for you from your perspective, like seeing a kid be able to come back home and being the starting quarterback for his hometown team, especially since you had the chance to do it also?
I wish people could see what these kids go through is what I wish. I wish they could see the emotional ups and downs that they've got to handle with everything that is put on them, all the expectations and all these things. I wish people could see that and understand that. It's easy to say it's just a name, it's a number, it's a recruiting ranking. These are kids, and they are people, and they go through really difficult things. And his journey has certainly not been easy. I'm really proud of him for being able to get through all these things. I'm really proud of not get through them, to thrive through them. Hasn't changed who he is. He's still the same person, the same kid I knew when he was in the sixth grade. He's still the same person. He's a good human, and it's hard to get through those things, and I mean it's harder than ever because it's there's tons of media coverage and there's tons of social media presence, and whether you try to let it affect you or not, there's a lot of people that don't deserve to have a platform but get to have an opinion, and it affects people. So for him to go through all those things and come here and compete, again, I told him it's like you have to win it because we had two other really good quarterbacks, and he knew that, and I think he's found joy, being back over here playing football. So for him, you're just very happy because the background, the things he's been through, and he's been through things as a kid that most of us don't have to go through ever or until we're a whole lot older. So the way he's managed and handled all those situations, I think, just speaks a whole lot to his character.
Knowing how successful the offense was last year and how talented Walker is at quarterback, what about Walker excites you the most when it comes to him being under center for you?
It's going to probably be a little different, than what it was. He's got a unique playmaking ability. He's got a little bit of ad lib to him that, it's not the way we played last year. With Ben, it was all very under controlled. We were able to manipulate a lot of situations that way. He manipulates it a little bit different way. And I think it's fun. I think offensively, I think we have a chance to be more explosive. Will we be as efficient? I don't know. That remains to be seen because that was what we did last year. Was we were really good with our offensive efficiency, and that helps you play defense. I think our defense is better this year. Certainly expect them to play better. So I think you can maybe give a little bit of efficiency for explosiveness. I just want him to do his job, and that's what I keep telling him. You're 1/11th of this offensive operation. You do your job really well, and we need to play well around them. And that's really what you expect. It's just when you have a guy like him that I think brings a little bit of a flash, in the playmaking ability he has. It kind of excites you about what it could be. But certainly those lights haven't been on yet. And we haven't been in that situation. So it's kind of the fun part about this time of year. You know what you think it can look like. What you think it can be. But the reality's coming here pretty soon, and we'll find out in about a week and a half.
Okay, last question. At this point in fall camp, you guys still feeling good about health where you're at going into the season with game week starting next week?
Yeah, look, that can change, tomorrow. But no, we've been very fortunate. I've said this before, and I always give credit where it's due. Our strength and conditioning staff has done a great job with these guys in the off season. Our athletic training staff has been, just on the spot with everything, being proactive, preventative treatment, things like that before they come issues. And certainly our players have done a great job taking care of their bodies and doing what they need to do. And it always takes luck. I mean, we know that. It takes a lot of luck to be able to stay injury-free. Right now, I'd say the only guy that we have that's probably limited right now is Zay Alexander, who we expect to be a backup O-lineman. But we expect him to be able to get in the mix a little bit. I think he's the future, So, we have some urgency to try to get him back and get him going. But he's the only one that's a little limited. It's just a thing that's kind of carried over from the spring. But he's on his way back. So he's the only one right now. And, God willing, hopefully we can steer clear of this dang injury bug that's been around here for the last couple of years.